I never thought a Labrador could ruin my peace or teach me what revenge truly feels like. His name was Cooper, and he wasn't the problem. Not really. The real problem was his owner, Vanessa Dighton, my next-door neighbor. Vanessa was the kind of woman who weaponized charm. Everything about her shimmered: her blonde hair, her curated laugh, her curated life. She had that effortless suburban confidence, the kind built from Pilates classes and influencer discounts. And I tried, I really did, to get along. But everything changed the day Cooper discovered my garden. The first time it happened, I didn't even realize it. I came home from work, heels in hand, to find my hydrangeas flattened, petals shredded like confetti after a parade. It looked like a storm had passed through. I stared at the destruction, confused, and then I heard the bark, loud, cheerful, unapologetic. Cooper. His golden fur was dusted with soil, his mouth clamped around one of my tulips like a victory flag. Vanessa came running across the lawn, smiling too wide. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she said, voice dripping honey. "He just loves flowers." I tried to laugh it off. "So do I said, kneeling to replant what I could. But she didn't help. She just laughed, that same airy, performative laugh. "He's just playful," she said, tugging lightly at his leash. "You know how dogs are." I did know, but I also knew that respect wasn't supposed to be optional. Over the next week, it kept happening. First, a few paw prints near the fence, then toppled planters, then an entire row of lilies chewed down to stems. Every time, Vanessa had a new excuse. "He must have slipped through the gate. He just loves your yard." Each apology was paired with a smirk, like this was all some quirky little sitcom between us. I'd catch her filming Cooper in my garden. For his followers, she said. Apparently, Cooper had an Instagram. Apparently, I was now part of their brand. By the third incident, I'd had enough. I knocked on her door, holding a crushed marigold as evidence. "Vanessa, I'm serious," I said, trying to stay calm. "I need you to keep him out of my yard." She blinked at me with faux innocence. "You're being so uptight about this, Maddie. It's just a dog." Just a dog. It was the way she said it, dismissive, like my boundaries were an inconvenience. That was when something in me started to shift. Not anger, not yet, just awareness. The kind that sharpens over time, waiting for the right moment to act. The next few weeks became a silent war. I reinforced my fence. She accidentally left her gate open. I bought deterrent spray. She complained to the HOA that I was using chemicals. Cooper, bless him, just kept tearing through, tail wagging, oblivious to the tension between his humans. Then, one morning, I walked out to find a package on my doorstep. Inside, a dog toy. No note, but I didn't need one. I could see her kitchen window from where I stood. Vanessa was there, sipping coffee, watching me with that little smirk. I held the toy up and mouthed, "Stop it." She just smiled wider. It wasn't about the garden anymore. It was about control, about how much she could get away with. It happened on a Sunday morning. I was hosting my sister and her kids for brunch. The weather was perfect. The table was set outside, coffee, pancakes, fruit bowls, everything calm, warm, normal. Until Cooper came barreling through the bushes. He jumped onto the table, paws crushing plates, tail knocking over orange juice. My niece screamed as berries flew across the lawn like grenades. I froze, stunned, and then saw Vanessa jobbing over, phone in hand, recording. "Oh no," she said, half laughing. "Cooper, you naughty boy." She didn't even try to stop him. She was filming my humiliation for content. That was it. The line she'd been dancing on for weeks, she finally crossed it. My sister whispered, "You're seriously going to let her get away with that?" And that was the moment. The moment I decided I wouldn't. I cleaned up the mess in silence, but inside, something locked into place. It wasn't rage, it was precision. Because revenge, when done right, doesn't need to shout. It just needs to document. That night, I sat in my living room and rewatched the clips Vanessa had posted. Her voice, her laughter, her little captions. When your neighbor's garden is just too tempting. Thousands of likes, dozens of laughing emojis. I scrolled through the comments until I saw one that made me stop. You should totally do a video of his next playdate. Playdate. That's what she called it. Destroying my garden was now part of her dog's brand. I closed my laptop, opened another tab, and searched for something else. Something simple but powerful. Motion-activated sprinklers with HD camera recording. That was when I found it. The perfect tool. A sleek, discreet device that could both deter and record. Water-triggered defense and video proof. If she wanted a show, I'd give her one. 2 days later, I installed it. Hidden among the hydrangeas, motion sensor set to perfection. Every movement, every paw step, caught in clear 1080p. The next morning, I poured myself coffee, sat by the window, and waited. Right on cue, Cooper slipped through her open gate. I watched him trot confidently into my garden like he owned it. The sensor blinked red. The sprinkler hissed, then unleashed a perfect arc of water. He yelped, startled, not hurt, and bolted back toward Vanessa's yard, dripping wet. And right behind him came her, in her robe, screaming his name. The camera caught everything. Her shouting, slipping in the mud, swearing at me like I was the problem. I replayed the footage that night, then again. Each time, it got funnier, sharper. Because for once, the truth didn't need defending. It was right there in pixels. But it wasn't enough, not yet. I wanted her to feel what she made me feel, exposed. 3 days later, I edited the footage, tastefully. No cruelty, no insults, just the truth. Title, When Your Neighbor Says Her Dog's Just Playful. I posted it anonymously in our local community group chat, the one every neighbor checked for lost mail or HOA updates. By noon, it had 50 shares. By evening, 200. By the next morning, viral. The comments were brutal, not toward Cooper, but toward her. This woman's been letting her dog destroy property? Isn't that against HOA policy? She laughed at this? Vanessa tried to do damage control, posting her own version of the story, claiming I'd set her up. But no one bought it. The footage was too clear, too undeniable. Then came the cherry on top. The HOA sent a notice, multiple fines for property damage, and a warning that future incidents could result in legal action. Vanessa's perfect little suburban image shattered. And me? I didn't have to say a single word. The next few days were oddly quiet. No barking, no laughter, no camera flashes from her window. Then one afternoon, I saw her standing by the fence, arms crossed, eyes cold. She didn't say anything, just glared. I gave her a small smile. "He's a sweet dog," I said. "Glad he's getting more indoor time." Her jaw tightened. She didn't reply. It was over, not with a fight, but with silence. And in that silence, I found something I hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. The hydrangeas started blooming again. The air smelled of wet soil and redemption. Sometimes I think about the irony of it all, how a woman obsessed with controlling her image ended up destroying it herself. She once said I was too uptight. Maybe I am, but at least I respect boundaries, even the invisible ones between decency and arrogance. People always talk about revenge like it's loud and fiery, but the best kind? It's calm, clean. I didn't scream. I didn't vandalize. I just let the truth water itself. And every time it rains, I watch the drops fall over my garden, new blossoms rising where chaos once trampled. Justice, I've learned, can bloom quietly. Because the difference between her and me is simple. She thought she could control perception. I knew how to control the narrative. She said her dog was just playful. Turns out, so was karma.
You've just stepped into her revenge side, where every wound finds its justice, and every silence ends with truth. If her story struck a chord, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Another secret waits in the next video. See how her revenge begins.